Well. Good morning, West Ham fans. Ross, the West Ham Netbreak. Hope you are all safe and well. If you're new around here, you know what to do. So, hit the button, subscribe, all that good stuff. It's simple stuff. And also, don't forget to check out our lovely friends, channel sponsors, Match Bingo. Obviously, the international break, but there's games. They're doing their cards throughout all the internationals this fortnight. And a little birdie has told me if you put in the promo code WHN, all capital letters, you get 200% deposit bonus. So if you could do that, much appreciated, because it will help us out as well on the channel. But obviously, with the international break, no first team action, no academy action, really, 18s and 21s. It gives people time to look at the transfer window as a whole, and everyone's spoken about how much they rate the transfer window, and we've spoken about Magassa and Fernandez and people but no one's talking about all the players we've signed. We've signed several players within the academy, and in fact we actually but one of our players got sniped by Nottingham Forest, who's actually a fucking good player, which I'm a little bit annoyed about. We brought some really good players in, which we're not talking about. And I think it's maybe because it's not immediate, it's not a first team. But as I said, we're the only channel out there who does a show just dedicated to the academy. So I wanted to shine some light on some of these players we've signed, because I think, we're going to see the benefit of them going through. So it's this conveyor belt of talent we've been talking about. We've got, in the first team now, you've got, Callum Marshall's in essence third choice striker, but the two strikers ahead of him get injured all the fucking time. You've got 𝗧𝗛𝗘 in the squad now. You've got Freddie Potts in the squad. You've got Ollie Skiles in the squad. And then you've sent the likes of Kalen out on loan, Lewis Orford out on loan as well. So there is and you look at some of the other sides, in the Premier League, we are bringing through a nice bunch of players, naturally lowering the age of the squad, which is what everyone's been moaning about for the last 3 years. We've done it. The average age of the squad is a lot younger than it was pre the summer, if that makes sense. All those players that left, the Antonios, and they're 30s and 36s and 40 in the case of Fabianski, and still with the likes of Christian Heggie there, and you've got the likes of Finn Herrick who've gone out on loan, and that allows the guys like Lorne Owusu, the goalkeeper, the England under-18 goalkeeper, he might be playing a lot more 21s, and Finley as well, and automatically we've spoken about the likes of 𝗧𝗛𝗡 𝗧𝗥𝗡𝗦𝗙𝗥, who's England under-18, but he's already captaining the under-21 side at West Ham. Despite the fact there being a lot of more older players than him, they see him as a big future. And it's a guy that I've been banging on the drum about for the last 18 months. But we've been brought in some really good players over the transfer window. We brought in Callum Leacock. We brought in Joel Kerr. Joel Kerr is someone you need to keep an eye on, because he is a real pocket rocket. That's the best way to describe him. I think people really enjoy watching him play. Obviously, Daniel Cummings, we know he came in from Celtic B side. He's unfortunately, obviously, he did his shoulder. He had a long existing shoulder injury, so that's been worked on. He's had surgery on it, and so he's recovering from that. But over the last sort of 48, 72 hours, the club announced the signing of, and this guy I think is going to be one to keep an eye on, 𝗧𝗛𝗓 𝗧𝗏. I've spoken about him, the Paris FC defender. Obviously, Paris FC, we bought Mahamadou Kante from, and then obviously loaned him straight back to Paris FC, and now he's with us. And he's pretty much been man of the match every game he's played, to be fair. He started as an absolute beast and unit of a man. So we've bought his mate, 𝗧𝗛𝗓. Now he is going straight into we're not sending him back to Paris FC. Paris FC got them promoted into Liga, so the chances of him breaking into the side obviously lessened. Same with Kante as well, so that's why they're in the system. He signed a 4-year deal with an extra option for a further year. And as I said, going straight into the 21s. And I think you'll see a lot of him in the under-21s across this season, particularly with potentially, I mean, he plays centre half, can play right back as well. And I think with Julie Robinson going out on loan to Livingston, you'll see a lot more of him. And I think he's going to be an app. And actually, it makes perfect sense because you've got to think that right hand side, you've got Wan-Bissaka's 26, maybe something like that. You've got Carl Capita, who's knocking on 30, not quite 30 yet. And then you've got the likes of Collet potentially, Julian Robinson, who could then go into that spot in the next 2-3 years potentially, even sooner maybe. I think you've got someone who's very, very interesting. What was interesting about him is he had an injury, but he had surgery mid-season, so now he's back, ready to roll. All guns are blazing. He represented France in under 16 level, and by his own admission, he says, "I'm a fullback, but during my formative years, I played as a centre half. For the last 2 years, I played the fullback. I'd say I'm more defensive than offensive, but I can push forward. I'd say I'm a fighter." And that's the type, and that's what I've been saying about the academy. The academy has quietly been up in its game in terms of recruitment, in terms of pathway development, and we're going to be seeing the benefits of that. Now, I was watching someone the other day talking about the lack of players into from the FA Youth Cup side into the first team, but actually, when you look at it now, a number of them are already in the squad. Yes, they're not getting the game time at the moment, but they're in the squad. And I keep banging on about it. 97% of Premier League academy players don't play 1 minute of academy football. And last year, we've had several. We had several make some Premier League minutes, which was above average in terms of what we do. Could be better. Of course, it could be better. But obviously, the pressures of trying to get wins, trying to get points on the board means managers tend to not risk players, and I think that risk academy players particularly. I mean, we've got the whole thing with Freddie Potts at the moment, which still I don't really understand what's going on. He's played all pre-season, and then when it comes to crunch, he doesn't pick him, and that doesn't fit right for me. But it's not all one-way street. It's great that we're getting these guys in. It's great we've got this pathway. It's great, obviously, the 21's on 4-2 against Sunderland the other day. It's great that they're starting to build some momentum going into, this PL2 season and the under-18 Premier League season. But unfortunately, we lost a player as well, and it's one which may eventually come back to bite us on the arse. But we've had situations before where Sonny Perkins, people like that have left and the grass hasn't been greener on the other side. Nottingham Forest, probably reading after the fact we've got Magassa and we didn't take Sanya off their hands and we beat them 3-0 at the City Ground. They've signed 𝗧𝗛𝗓 𝗧𝗛𝗔. Now, it might be a name that you guys don't know. If you watch the Academy show, I have spoken about 𝗧𝗛𝗓 𝗧𝗛𝗓 because he signed his pro deal last year, I think it was. He's only 18-year-old lad, but he was he's been someone that's been courted by a lot of clubs. As I said, he signed permanently as a pro deal when he turned 17, and was on Man City's radar. He's an England under-17 international, and the club had high hopes for him. And unfortunately, he's gone to Nottingham Forest. So it's a shame. It's a shame. He might be one that we look back on in a few years' time, going the one that got away. There's been a few have left recently who are out of contracts and stuff, but the club don't seem. I mean, this one's a bit different than they've been released. In essence, they can. We get a small fee for him, but it's one which is slightly frustrating because I would have assumed that you'd see a lot more of him moving from the 18s into the 21s more occasionally. There's a lot more games in the 21s this year with the Premier League Invitational Cup and stuff. But he was on sort of that. There's a lot in that midfield. You've got lots of Preston Fearon, you've got Kante, you've got Ekpata, You've got people who play slightly more advanced, like 𝗧𝗛𝗡, and we let Flavour go as well. But it sort of left a sour taste in my mouth for this one, unfortunately. But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, we know Nottingham Forest's academy. They brought through players, like Brennan Johnson and stuff. And obviously, I wish him all the best. He'll always be a West Ham boy. He actually was called up, despite being under 17, it's only under 18s. He was called up to train with the first team under Potter during the pre-seasons. A number of 18s, under 18s, and under 21s were called up. Not necessarily on an age thing, but on an ability, and maybe where they saw, like I said, people like Edges Golombekis, Ezra Mayers, they were to train alongside the likes of Kilman and Tolabo and stuff like that. And so was Newusu. He was, lined up to train alongside the likes of JWP. But there we go. I just thought that sometimes, we look at things and rightly so. It's a first team down approach. It is, and I think that sometimes doesn't benefit the academy players in terms of their development. I think Lewis Orford's a classic example of that. I would have assumed that he would have been maybe at a championship club or even maybe at a club abroad. I know for a fact there was a number of clubs in Europe who are interested in signing him on a loan deal, as well as championship clubs. But because of the nature of our failure to get rid of some of the shit when it comes to the first team midfield, that they hung on to keeping Lewis until right at the end, and then obviously Stevenage came in, I believe, with a break clause in order for him to come back in January and either then stay with the first team or alternatively go out on loan again. But it's happened a couple of times. Someone like Christian Heggie did that quite a bit last season. I think he was at Crawley, then he came back and went out to Hungary. And it's happened for a few of our guys. So I know that's I believe that's what's happening with Lewis as well. But just thought let's shine a bit of light on the academy recruitment, because they know what they're doing. Those boys know what they're doing. The likes of Kenny Brown and Mark Robson and Kevin Keane and Nobes and and Stevie Potts, and they're all West Ham boys, and they're all getting the right mix. Colton is the loan manager. You got Zavon Hines. You got Freddie Sears in the under 12s, I think it is, or something like that. They're in good hands. I was just a bit annoyed about Chinzano. I just thought I've seen a lot of him, and I thought he could, but we'll see. Hindsight's a great thing. I think we, the same way we were all like when Sonny Perkins left, or when Harrison Ashby left, or Aji Elese left. We all felt the same, didn't we? Anyway, my friends, have a great rest of the day. We'll be back later on with all the headlines and news as and when it happens. Take care. Much love.